The next one is Brian Reid. Thank you.
All right. Fairly new to this, but yeah, the whole reason for well, climate change is a thing; it's happening. But what are the reasons for it? All the evidence points to the fact that it is not CO2 causing it. If you go back to the ice core records, every single time temperature leads CO2. So it's well known that changing temperature will change the CO2 levels in the atmosphere. You cannot have the reverse happening at the same time, because then you would have positive feedback and our temperature would just spiral to an upper limit and stay there. It could never come down. If you actually expand out the graphs, you'll see that temperature leads CO2. So when temperature is dropping, CO2 is still rising. So if CO2 can also cause a rise in temperature, that temperature could not drop. It would have to pull back up again. Records from geology show that the CO2 levels have been roughly 17 times what they are today, with roughly the same temperature. Okay, this is a diagram of basically temperature since we left the last ice age, about 11,500 years ago. There's a bit of a debate about that. There was also the Younger Dryas period where the temperature really plummeted, and so did CO2 levels. In fact, the CO2 got down to about 200 parts per million. At 150 parts per million, trees die. Okay. Now, one odd thing is that the IPCC take as a reference point the Little Ice Age, which is basically the coldest point since we left the last glaciation about 11,500 years ago. Is that actually an ideal period to actually be looking at? Life was pretty miserable all around the world. I don't think it's particularly good. Now the ice core samples, they show a great trend, but there's large periods of 100 years or so that the gases can move in and out of the ice before it actually, in and out of the snow before it gets compacted to ice. So the absolute value of CO2 from the ice core records isn't particularly good. And from plants, stomata, basically pores in plants, when there's an abundance of CO2, they have less of these holes in the leaves because they don't need to breathe in and out so much. So it makes them more water resistant. So they can actually handle drought better in warmer climates, and if there's more CO2, they also grow faster. And plants stomata show that the CO2 levels have actually been higher than they are now in the last 2,000 years. It doesn't mirror up with the ice record, but that, as I've indicated, that the ice record is not great because of the flow of gases in and out of the snow before it's compacted.
Thank you. You've come to the end of your time, but okay. It takes a lot of effort to put a submission together and then come along and present in person. So I just wanted to acknowledge you and thank you for doing that.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
One thing is, don't get rid of your warm gear, because NASA are actually predicting that we're in for a cold spell.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.